Let
Go with quote number 8.
a second. Okay. All right. Welcome to week 8 on the Lost Confederacy channel. This channel is dedicated to the first letter in the acronym APOW, which is American Prisoners of War. So on this channel, what we focus on is American history, hence the name Lost Confederacy, which is an American form of government. So when we claim Lost Confederacy, in actuality, we're honoring our great grandparents because that was the type of government that they were under prior to becoming a citizen of the United States government in the 1960s through what you know as the Civil Rights Act. Myself, I'm Chief Alligator. We got Chief Blackcoat tonight. And we're going to go ahead and finish off this 1866 Indian Treaty. But what we do is we like to read certain literature before every class. And what we're doing is we're honoring the founder of Black History Month, who was Dr. Carter G. Woodson. We also honor our lords, which would be our inventors, because the school system will tell you that we were all slaves, but that's far from the reality. We have not mentioned the same inventor or invention, and we're past 40 weeks. We're almost coming up on a whole fiscal year. So we're laying the groundwork, we're planting the seeds to prove to y'all, and we read government documents, acts, treaties. So we're not guessing. We're not pointing you to any kind of book, any literature that somebody's doctored up. We're going straight to the root of the source. Most of our information is coming out the Library of Congress. So we're not guessing. We're not majoring in the minors. If you tune into this channel, you'll definitely be enlightened and get educated. With that being said, Chief Blackcoat, I'll share my screen so we can get the 12 steps. Let's go ahead and minimize this. Let's pull this up. Can you see that?
Nothing yet.
You can't see it?
It says you have started sharing your screen, but nothing's showing.
I see it on my end. You saying you can't see it?
No, I don't see anything. There we go. Here we are.
Okay.
All right, want to zoom in just a little bit? All right, guys, I'm Chief Blackcoat. 13-week practical program of action for each American prisoner of war. Number 1, learn about the estate or estates your family originated from. Number 2, who established that estate. Number 3, what tribe or confederacy had jurisdiction over the area prior to the European. Number 4, ask all nonprofit organizations you attend what's your position on reparations. Number 5, they either support it or they don't. No support, no money. However, if they support it, then children and adults need weekly classes free of charge about steps 1, 2, and 3. In addition, field trips to APOW, American Prisoner of War landmarks, and at city, county, and state are needed. Number 6, do not support European holidays for the remainder of the 13-week time frame. Number 7, avoid spending money with any small businesses that doesn't hire your people, gas stations, nail salons, Subway, corner stores, etc. Number 8, all businesses need operating cash. Spend money with American businesses. Number 9, all other groups rely on our energy and operating cash to survive. Set the trends of making other groups follow our lead and support other clubs, services, products, and entertainment. Number 10, the U.S. government is bankrupt. The Federal Reserve prints money, i.e. quantitative easing. It also burns money, i.e. quantitative tightening. The U.S. dollar hasn't been backed by gold since Richard Nixon in 1971. The Gold Standard Act. The government operates off the full faith of its citizens to pay debts and taxes. American prisoner of war no longer have faith in the government. This is why financial support will be altered, stopped, and redirected. Number 11, teach your kids 1 hour a day about that history on this land. Have them learn about an American inventor. have them know about our heroes. They should know the European that conquered that estate we live in or you live in. They should know the nation of people prior to the European invasion militarily and culturally. And number 12, practicing these steps will educate us on the land we are claiming America and attaches us to the history and laws of the United States government. Every estate American prisoner of war live in should have steps 1, 2, and 3 advertised via social media, radio, and newspaper. This in 13 weeks, one physical quarter will bring us together for our common cause.
All right, I appreciate that. I'm going to go ahead and do this week's inventor, which will be, let's see if you'll pull this up. This American's name is going to be C.W. Allen. Let's go ahead and click on the first image. Can you see this, or do I need to make it? Okay, can you see that? You're on mute.
I got you.
Okay. This week's American inventor is going to be C.W. Allen. He invented the self-leveling table, federal patent number 613436, November 1st, 1888. The self-leveling table allows for table stabilization and prevents wobbling. So prior to this American coming out with a way to balance the table, I guess tables were uneven. So we can see the mechanical engineering that he has done on this particular invention. You can see a weight, which would be number 3, inside this box of these different gears that sit on top. And if we go to the second image, we can see here where there's like a scale, and we can see the table coming across the top
to balance it out.
So we can definitely see the mechanical engine, right? So this is like a different view because here's the weight right here, number 3. And we can see the table here with the legs. And according to the research that I've done on it, we don't get a percentage of this income, even though we gave this to the world, the leveling table, the self-leveling table.
For the world.
Again, his name is C.W. Allen, and that's this week's American inventor.
C.W. Allen.
Yep. And next, you want to do the Dr. Carter G. Woodson quote?
I got it. This week, we're going to go with quote number 8. All right, quote number 8. In the church, we have much freedom and independence. We must get rid of preachers who are not prepared to help the people whom they exploit. The people must refuse to support men of this type. Ministers who are the creations in the old educational system must be awakened. And if this is impossible, they must be dethroned. Those who keep the people in ignorance and play upon their emotions must be exiled. The people have never been taught what religion is, for most of the preachers find it easier to stimulate the superstition which develops in the enlightened mind. Religion is such hands, then becomes something with which you take advantage of weak people. Why try to enlighten the people in such matters when the superstition serves just as well for exploitation? That's a pretty powerful quote. We talk personally from time to time, but we understand how our people rely on people that sell God instead of people that will actually defend them. So us being in this trance of, praying, just continue to pray for our suffering to end, we got to kind of, start breaking layers down to understand, okay, why am I continuing to suffer? Even if you don't feel like you're suffering, why does this group look like they're suffering? Or why are they complaining about suffering? What's going on? If you're an American, if you're Black, if you, whatever you want to call yourself, Afro, it doesn't matter. Whatever you call yourself in America, what are we doing? Where's our real defense? Who are we going to when it's time to actually come together and actually form a plan of what to do or how to do it or execution? And our preachers are never going to get us to the point to where we get over that hump. God isn't gonna come down and help. So the preacher is kind of looking a little bit foreign to me now, because how many times are we gonna go to the church hall or to the church homes, pray on it, and nothing gets fixed? We might need to appoint new leaders. Our ministers, our preachers, they might not be our real leaders. They might not be able to lead us to freedom, quote unquote, here in this United States government. But that's my piece.
Great build on that. You want to jump right into legal definitions?
Yep.
All right, got them right here for you.
All right, so our legal definitions for today and every week. Number 1, American, indigenous to America. Number 2, descendants, one who follows in the bloodline of an ancestor, either linearly or collaterally. Number 3, slavery, a situation in which one person has absolute power over the life, fortune, and liberty of another. Number 4, prisoner of war, POW, person, usually a soldier who was captured by or surrenders to the enemy in wartime. Number 5, school, any institution in which instruction is given in a particular discipline. Number 6, education, an enlightening experience. And on the wrong historical points, of a person escaping slavery, seeking freedom, or breaking the law. Number 2, providing unity and a strong defense comes first. Number 3, Maroon leaders were first and foremost military figures. Number 4, Maroons established guerrilla warfare, planting sharp sticks in thick grass. Number 5, Maroons knew the European enemy's language, defense, and plans.
And you build a little bit on that third Maroon point.
Maroon leaders were first and foremost military figures. That's where our group lack coming straight in the middle. We don't have a defense. We look at other countries around this world and we see them having figures to protect them. I want to go back to last year with the shooting in Atlanta with the white man and the Asians. Their government came out and protected them because they have a power structure already set. So for our group to ever want to demand and actually force or get change, actually go take it, we got to start with a defense. And here our ancestors said all our leaders were first and foremost military figures. Myself was in the military. While I was in, I realized, wow, it is diverse, and it's not what we all think it is. We are in there. Europeans are in there, and our Mexican brothers, our Hispanic family, or their cousins, they're in there as well. So it's a very diverse structure, but most of the people in there, look like me and you. So when it comes back to today's time and having structure or having military figures in order for the structure to start, yeah, that'll be your first line defense. So back to how Dr. Carter G. Wilson was saying, our preachers won't get it done. It comes back to a lot of people that was in the military. We have a lot of experience in multiple things, no matter what it is, but that military figure, everybody know, what being a soldier is really about. So we don't have any soldiers in the streets. We don't have no soldiers in the streets. We're vulnerable. They know we're vulnerable. They know we have no structure, and we have to we're either going to come together or we're going to pretty much get deleted, aka go into extinction, because it's I'm not seeing us actually turn anything around. So if we're not turning anything around, then that's more of us dying. And we have to eventually we're gonna have to stand up. The numbers are gonna continue to slim. Our people are gonna have to stand up like, hey, whoa, what is this, or what are we doing? We're not asking any type of questions, and I don't know why, but questions definitely need to be answered, and they're not getting answered because no one fears us. And it goes back to having military figures, leading this group, just having the church leading it.
Great build on that. Great build on that. I'll go ahead and jump into the Constitution readings. What we like to do is we like to point out a couple of things in the Europeans document when they founded this government, July 4th, 1776. So the first thing that we like to do is do Article 1, Section 10. And it says here, no state shall enter into any treaty, alliance, or confederation, grant letters of marque and reprisal, coin money, emit bills of credit, make anything but gold and silver coin a tender in payment of debts. So as we read in the steps before every meeting, 1971, Richard Nixon separated the gold and the US dollars relationship. So my entire life, I've never been paid quote unquote money. Now this Constitution says that gold and silver coin would pay off a debt. However, the next best thing, the gold and silver coin, would be a paper currency backed by gold or silver. We don't even have that anymore after 1971, which is why I say there is no law. And if there is no law, and if this European's form of government is now bankrupt, why the fuck are we being oppressed? Why are we being killed? Why are we even listening to these people at this point? It doesn't make sense to me. You want to build on that?
Yeah, I'll build on it. We're getting too comfortable. We already are too comfortable right now, but we're just getting way too comfortable because the laws are coming out. And once the law come out, you got to address it. Like, okay, so what is it? Ain't no money. And that's going to be a tough pill for a lot of people to swallow, man, because they literally pretend so much that this government is the world's leader. Like, no, fuck you not. You ain't got no money. Right, you suck at this. You pretty much suck. You went broke. So for we to be still looking at this United States government structure as powerful, how? Not no money. So all we doing is a bunch of barking and media, TV, movie type shit when it comes to what's happening around the world. But other than that, it's based off fear. This whole government is based off fear. And we got to flip that shit around. Like, they ain't doing nothing but scaring niggas. All right, let's hold them accountable for what the fuck they really supposed to stand for.
Good, Bill. This is a consumer nation, and they tell you that. This isn't the wealthiest nation on planet Earth. They don't use that terminology anymore. It's a consumer nation. This whole
consumer nation.
Yeah, it's built off of you spending everything you have and never accumulating anything, never converting your fiat to constitutional money, which would be gold and silver. So yeah, I mean, the gig is up at this point. Like, we just have to really understand there is no money. So why do our people in the quote unquote conscious community, why do y'all continue to throw this WS term out, white supremacy? How you supreme and you ain't got nothing?
Right.
We giving you an invention every week. That's an industry that we created. They have no money. How are they supreme? So we'll go down to the next one that we like to do before every meeting is Article 2, Section 2. And Article 2, Section 2 refers to probably the main reason why our people use the word white supremacy. That's a hiding tactic to stay in denial that you're in military occupation.
And it's fear-based. Tell them you're supreme. And eventually, over a while, you really just think, oh, they're supreme. Like, what are we talking about? Back to how you always say, we're reading an invention every week. Not saying we're supreme to any being, but where did all this wealth come from? Or where did all these inventions for this consumer nation come from? It's us. So back to our shit. So you telling us you supreme on our shit? It's like, huh? But that's just me. Other people can't understand white supremacy, and I'm like, I don't get it. Nothing. I mean, even when I watch sports, there's nothing supreme to you about me. Just anything in life, honestly.
Great build on that. Article 2, Section 2. So this brings up Buffalo to me, because again, they're not going to stop their offensive operations because we have,
Correct.
as Chief Blackcoat said, the president shall be commander-in-chief of the Army and Navy of the United States and of the militia of the several states. And so this ties into the Maroon historical points. Even the peasants that were sent over here from Europe that established their government known as the United States of America, their leader is what? Commander-in-chief. So again, everybody knows that you got to have a military figure as your leader. Our group of people are the only ones that like to just, you know, get outside of natural law. You want to build on that?
What I'm tired is, I understand I'm a part of the conscious community or whatever you want to call it. And if everybody understands psyops, psychological operations or whatever. And we got to stop always thinking shit is a game or thinking shit is not what it is. So when you see these soldiers deployed or these mass shooters, what we know it as, these are seriously people coming. You said something powerful on the channel last night, but there is no 18, 17, 19-year-old mentally prepared and physically prepared to kill as many people as they possibly can. That's definitely trained for many years. So training can start at 14, 13, however it starts. But for us to see these people just jump out and commit the crimes they do, it's not by mistake, and it's not by the boogeyman hoobie jubie. I look at it as they're beating us to everything, so we'll never get a chance to win. And we gotta start understanding that right here, we read it every week. Section 2, the president should be commander-in-chief of the Army, the Navy, in the United States, and of the militia. These soldiers are being deployed from militia districts, man. And we gotta like understand, yeah, they're gonna keep doing it, but when we see it, let's not pretend it's a game or it's fake. These are real people losing real lives for the benefit of this power structure. And as we continue to pay attention, look at who they're targeting, and we should be past that. But since we're so far behind the curve, we got to start paying attention to what's really going on and how this thing adds up back to what we're reading in Section 2 of the Constitution. These are militia soldiers. These are not just random children. People can't. How can somebody, you know, reach 19 kids that fast? There has to be some training behind that. This white boy in Buffalo actually killed the security officer that was older in age. So he's probably been doing security for a while, and he still beat him. That's training. He got lucky, but that comes from just being focused, trained, and understanding the mission. So this isn't random bullshit and psyop. Yeah, it's a psyop, but it's real. It's real. They're beating us to everything. They don't want us to have the idea of, you know what, let's go run their shit over. No, they beat us every time, and then we get all, oh, pray for the nation, whatever the fuck we do. And it's not gonna work out like that because we're seeing how they coming. 10 people, 19 kids, doesn't matter. Last year, Asians, you know, multiple of them, female, all women, it doesn't matter. We have to understand how this shit works or how this shit got established and move back or take notes from this establishment to move forward. I'm not saying we got to start doing, you know, the most asinine things on the planet, but we got to start understanding what's going on, because if we never understand, we never gonna move forward. We'll just always we gotta understand what's going on. These are soldiers. So if we want the bullshit to stop, we might have to produce some soldiers. We might have to have our own defense. And that's the only way we get out of this. We ain't gonna escape through it. So sooner or later, if we start connecting these dots and seeing these militia district soldiers come out and kill as many people as they want to, I don't know if we got whole blood or crazy blood or whatever we got, but we got it. We at home, and they got the ball, but we at home. Something's got to change. But back to just Section 2 we're reading. You're the militia, man. These mass shooters come from districts. militia districts. Way too trained, way too smart, way too professional. And they're just kids coming straight out of high school. You know, when you get out of high school, you weren't thinking nowhere near this level of disciplined shooting. So it's years of training for these kids to actually execute these massacres. And we got to take this shit as serious as it is. This government will continue to install fear on its citizens, and of course they're not going to waste it. They're gonna target who's important. They're targeting important people. These ain't just random bystanders. But we sometimes gonna have to jump the gun. So we're gonna have to jump the gun. But again, know what we're looking at, know what we're seeing. It's happening a lot this year. They're back to back to back. I don't even know how people are really just outside like that, but we got to know what we're looking at. Right now, we're looking at the militia turn the heat up just a little bit more. And every year, I think they're going to turn it up more and more and more until we can't ignore it. It's like they're backing us into a wall almost.
Great, Bill. The only thing I would add on to that is another reality that I think a lot of us want to put our head in the sand. The president shall be the commander-in-chief of the Army and Navy of the United States.
Say it
He makes the
again.
phone call. He makes the
president, Joe Biden, or Donald Trump, whoever. Go ahead.
No, they make the phone call. So we need to understand that, because we're in a silent war. And if you think we're being hypocritical or radical, name one specific thing besides a slave holiday that you got since Biden been in office. If you don't think it's a silent war being waged on you, but yeah, anytime you get one of these militia soldiers that jump out and do those crimes, the call comes from the president. We're just showing you their structure so you can get out of this idea that it's white supremacy. It's not. It's military
structure or occupation for sure. And yeah, just in that moment, the president shall be commander. That's how the structure is set up. So everybody want to worry about Joe's doing his best. All that extra, man, Joe out here sending niggas on niggas. Doesn't surprise me though.
All right, so our last reading that we'll do every week is Article 6, Section 6 of their Constitution. And I use the word their Constitution because American history shows that in July 4th, 1776, people who look like me were not citizens of their government. So again, we did not become, people who look like me and Chief Blackcoat, we didn't become citizens till 1965. That's when they said you got the right to vote. And they desegregated because they had you on military concentration camps. But they use fancy words like Jim Crow and different things like that. But no, you were military occupied. You couldn't come across certain railroad tracks. Your grandma and your mama don't want to talk about that, but that's what it was. Article 6 says, this Constitution and the laws of the United States, which shall be made in pursuance thereof, and all treaties made or which shall be made under the authority of the United States shall be the supreme law of the land. And so this is another thing that we do. We're finishing up a treaty today. So we read supreme law of the land, but we now know that that's fake, because in this current treaty that we've worked, 1866 Indian Treaty, actually it's the missionaries that supersede the treaty. But again, intel, information, I think about Vietnamese, Afghanistan, the Koreans, everybody who protects their land, it's because they know their history on the land. And so this channel is dedicated to education. What we're trying to do is just teach American history to people who look like us. Y'all didn't come on slave ships from Africa en masse. The only people that were en masse coming across the Atlantic Ocean were Europeans. Every one of them came on a boat. So, you know, they reconstructed this thing and got us thinking that we're them and they're us. So we'll go ahead and jump straight into the 1866 Indian Treaty. Do you want to build on anything about the treaty being the supreme law of the land?
We're still finding out other things supersedes the treaties at this point. So let's see how much, you know, they created loopholes for themselves. So that's what they did. But no, we get on that one. So
we've seen two lies already that they put in their document that they stand on. They don't stand on what money is. Gold and their currency isn't even backed by gold anymore. And treaties being the supreme law of the land. Have you learned about it in elementary, middle, high school, or college? Just a question. So they're definitely dumbing you down if you took a history class and you're not reading supreme law of the land.
And that's what kind of upsets me a little bit. It don't upset me. Young brother on Twitter tweeted out about us taking a responsibility and taking our children out of the institution, this white supremacy institution, having them brainwash your kids, and everybody was pretty much had a loud cry about it. And we're just like, yo, what's the issue with just taking responsibility of your kid's mom and not allowing somebody else to fill with information that's false or irrelevant? And just straight backlash. And it's like, wow, we still okay with sending our children in those doors where the enemy controls all of it. And it also just blows my mind because the shit is called school to prison pipeline. So it's like they're already foreseeing for you, telling you what's going to happen. After high school, 9 out of 10, or whatever the stat may be, they're going to end up in prison. So it's like we got a lot of thinking. Like, we're losing so fast. It's almost like we're watching our demise. Seriously.
Great, Bill. So we'll go ahead. Get straight into the Indian Treaty, Article 47. I'll start it off. As soon as practicable, after the lands shall have been surveyed and assigned to the Choctaw and Chickasaws in severalty, as herein provided, upon application of their respective legislative councils and with the assent of the President of the United States, all the annuities and funds invested and held in trust by the United States for the benefit of said nations respectively shall be capitalized or converted into money. So first thing jumps out to me on this is the Choctaw and Chickasaw have to be on land that's assigned to them. So these people aren't of their own because you're being relegated to a particular place. We can clearly see with the assent of the President of the United States. So your chief of your tribe, Choctaw, Chickasaw, that's not the end all be all for that group of people. No, the president of another government, which would be the United States government, is actually overseeing them. So if you're new to this channel and if you're listening, you're not really understanding, you have to understand that the United States is one government, the Choctaw is one government, and Chickasaw is one government. What they're saying is all three of those governments report back to the President of the United States. All the annuities and funds invested and held in trust by the United States. So they're holding all the finance as well, which we know that from earlier articles, because all the employees of the Choctaw and Chickasaw, they're dependent on the United States government to pay their salaries. So now we see they're controlling the trust, the annuities for the benefit of said nations respectively shall be capitalized or converted into money. You want to build on that?
Give me 1 second. My laptop went down. Yeah. All right. But yeah, so back to what you just said about these three governments having to report, or these 2 or 3 governments having to report back to the United States government. Are you really your own form of government? We're acting at, so we do understand the Choctaw and the Chickasaw have their own forms now. How is this your own form of government when you're reporting back to somebody else? So only thing I'm having to add is the United States government for sure is a very corrupt corporation. Pretty much as we continue to read when it comes to the Chickasaw and the Choctaw and Chickasaw nations, we're watching so much confusion being pushed onto them. And from here, and as we continue going forward, there is no coming back because they're infiltrating it all the way. So that's all I'm gonna say on that part. But yeah, everybody got pushed west of the Mississippi. They went through things we probably never understand.
Great build on that. I'm gonna pick up, as the case may be, and the aggregate amounts thereof belonging to each nation shall be equally divided and paid per capita to the individuals thereof respectively. So they're gonna take the total amounts and they're gonna divide it amongst the Choctaw and Chickasaw nations. To aid and assist them in approving their homesteads and increasing or acquiring flocks and herds, and thus encourage them to make proper efforts to maintain successfully the new relations which the holding of their lands and severalty will involve. So like Chief Blackcoat just said, these people were pushed west of the Mississippi. They were coming out of the Creek Confederacy, which was the Carolinas all the way over to Louisiana. A lot of people got put on the Trail of Tears and they got sent on the other side of the Mississippi. So when you hear language like build new homesteads and yeah, so now you got different animals that's in Arkansas or Kansas area than you do in Georgia or Florida or Alabama, Mississippi. So it's a whole culture shock for these people that were moved on the other side of North America, on the west side of that Mississippi. And so you can pretty much see that they're kind of treating the Americans almost like they're doing their peasants that they're receiving from Europe, where it's like they're making them start over again. You want to build on that?
I was just gonna say the peasants coming off of the boat, or the poor, or however you want to look at it, or wherever you come from. They're probably coming over. We're watching this government pretty much treat its own citizens just like the enemy in their eyes. So I'm trying to figure out, well, I got a lot thinking right now, but other than this government pretty much pretending to allow the Chickasaw and Choctaw nations to have their own power structure and have their own government while still being involved by telling them that you can make improvements on the land and, you know, still have to pay a tax on it. I'm trying to understand what these group of people, our people, were thinking as when they thought, oh, I thought we were still running our own government. I thought we were, and then you're just being flooded in with different people from different nations or different countries. Back to just unfolding this this mystery of what went down for this government to establish itself.
Great points, great points. I'm gonna keep it pushing, provided nevertheless that there shall be retained by the United States such sum as the president shall deem sufficient of the said monies to be invested. So here we go again. You could be waiting on your split of the annuities that we just read. And the president can say, well, we're gonna take some of that and we're gonna invest it. So again, you don't have control over any of the financial resources. It's all depending on what the president of the United States wants to do. That the interest thereon may be sufficient to defray the expenses of the government of said nations respectively. So he can take some of the money that those nations are supposed to get, invest it, and then the interest that comes off that investment, it'll offset the expenses that the United States government has to eat in order to make sure that the Choctaw and Chickasaw people are taken care of. The other side of that is an investment is a risk. What if it don't work? But the fact that he has the power to not give you your money and just invest it, these groups of people don't have control over anything financial.
I don't have control over anything. How you breaking me off my piece and then saying I want a little bit more to go invest it? Just ant-dicking them. There, you can see how this whole white S phrase comes about with just the little things they did to this group, allowing them, giving and then taking a little bit away, and just always give them just that a little bit to have faith, but you don't really want to trust it because you're seeing what they're doing behind the scenes. It's just a corrupt government, honestly, all the way.
All right. Together with a judicious system of education, until these objects can be provided for by a proper system of taxation, and whenever this shall be done to the satisfaction of the President of the United States, the money so retained shall be divided in the manner and for the purpose above mentioned. So they're going to put in an education system, the European. Once that proper system is up, then you'll start taxing those citizens to generate the revenue so that you can take care of your own self. And whenever this shall be done to the satisfaction of who? The President of the United States. The monies that he been sitting on retained shall be then divided in the manner and for the purpose above mentioned. Yeah, so he ain't dividing nothing until you get your school system up and running, until you get a tax system set up where you taxing your people. Anything you want to share on that?
No, we're just ant-dicking them, just pretending, giving all of these objectives and deadlines, and it's all on if you're gonna eat or not. So it's like, well, I gotta do all of this, then we'll start getting paid. Still gotta pay taxes on it, but I gotta pretty much build this land up how you want it, and then get operations going, so money can start flowing. But you still wanna, it just feels like they were messing with warlords, people that play for keeps.
And if I can add one thing in just about the Seminole and the Maroons that we're always referencing, one of the reasons why those group of people were so successful against the European is the first tax that they paid was to their military. See, so what we do is we give the first thing we pay our tax to is we give it to a preacher. But the tax that we're supposed to pay is supposed to be for our defense, is what you said earlier. We should be, because that's what every other group of people do. You have to break off the people who are going to protect you first.
They just push you around. It's like we're out here, we're just out here. Like they can do whatever with you because there's no retaliation. I'll pick up on 48.
Okay.
Immediately after the ratification of this treaty, there shall be paid out of the funds of the Choctaw and Chickasaws in the hands of the United States. I won't start right there. Immediately after the ratification of this treaty, there shall be paid out of the funds of the Choctaws and Chickasaws in the hands of the United States $25,000 to the Chickasaw commissioners to enable them to discharge obligations incurred by them for various incidental and other expenses to which they have been subjected and for which they are now indebted. So on here, to me, the Chickasaws are now being paid out to the United States, $25,000 to the Chickasaw commissioners, which again, we understand that the commissioners is coming down from the United States branch. So again, the money going back to the United States government. So we see now this president doesn't trust anybody outside of his structure to actually handle the money. And now other expenses to which they have been subjected to and for which they are now indebted. So now they have expenses they're objected to and they're indebted. So now that money's about to just go right, the commissioner has to give it back because now they got to pay off these debts, whatever it costs for them to get back up what they're subjected to. Looks like we got a Amber Alert. But yeah, that's my piece. Want to build on that, you about there?
Yeah, they turned right around and basically they called their hands. They told both of those nations, we need 25 racks from you, knowing that's going to put them in debt because this is a startup project. Yeah.
Startup project, right. I'll continue. And it is further agreed that a commission to consent of a person or persons to be appointed by the President of the United States, not exceeding 3, shall be appointed immediately on the ratification of this treaty, who shall talk into consideration and determine the claim of such Choctaw and Chickasaws as algae, and they have been driven during the late rebellion from their homes in the Choctaw and Chickasaw nations on account of their adhesion to the United States. This algae word, what do they mean by that?
Alleged.
Allege. I apologize. So it's Chickasaw and Choctaw as alleged they have been driven as allegedly. Wow.
He's gonna have a part. So here again, we're going back to that President of the United States, right? That's the only real leader that you hear out of these 3 different governments. He's gonna have commissioned 3 people, and right after everybody votes on this treaty and ratify it, they're going to take in consideration and determine the claim of such Choctaws and Chickasaws as alleged that they have been driven during the late rebellion from their homes. So it's going to be a commission of 3 people. If you live east of the Mississippi and now you're west of the Mississippi, they're going to go and interview you, and they want to hear about how you got drove from your home. But this is another thing, and this is why what we're doing, it debunks schooling at the college and high school level. We've read several documents where they refer to what you call the Civil War. It's actually a rebellion. There was no Civil War, and it's going to be hard for people to understand that, but we're reading the documents. Here it is again, the late rebellion. Europeans cannot be Confederates. Confederates is an American form of government. They keep going back to it.
So I'll pick back up. Nations on the account of their adhesion to the United States for damages with power to make such award as to view all circumstances, whose report, when ratified by the Secretary of the Interior, shall be final, and authorize the payment of the amount from any monies of said nations in the hands of the United States as the said commission may award. Yeah, you can go ahead and speak on that one, Chief Alligator.
Yeah, it's up to those 3 commissioners that the president is going to appoint, whether they believe that you were living east of the Mississippi before you came west. If they don't believe you, you don't get anything. So you can see politics in that. You're probably going to take care of your immediate family first. Even if they weren't east of the Mississippi. Yeah, you put that, that's a huge power that you gave 3 people.
Right.
On this commission. You want to do 50 or you want me to do it?
I'll pick it up. Whereas Joseph G. Hale and Reburn Wright of Massachusetts were licensed traders in the Choctaw County at the commencement of the rebellion, and claimed to have sustained large losses on account of the said rebellion by the use of their property by said nations, and the large sums of money are due them for goods and property taken or sold to the members of the said nations, and money advanced to said nations. And whereas other loyal citizens of the United States may have just claims of their character or of the character. I'm gonna stop right there. It sounds like, or it is, back to them repeating that rebellion. So we understand no Civil War, just a rebellion. Like Chief Alligator said, Europeans can't be the Confederates. So yeah, that was a rebellion. That was European acting out, pretending to be us, and being mad at Daddy, the United States. And it sounds like just back to the money being distributed and held from the Choctaw and Chickasaw nations, based on their story. If you want to build on that, Chief Alligator.
Yeah, you got 2 contractors. You got Joseph Hill and Reuben Wright of Massachusetts. They were licensed traders in Choctaw country. So they had a license from the United States government
to trade.
And so they're claiming that they were already west of the Mississippi when the rebellion popped off.
Mm.
So they're talking about they sustained large losses on account of said rebellion.
Right.
See that? So it's like they're filing an insurance claim with their government. It's like they're going to the United States government saying, hey, we took huge losses during that rebellion by the use of their property by said nation, and that large sums of money are due them for goods and property taken. So they're basically saying we got stuff stole from us, we got goods took from us. So what I'm seeing right here is the United States is going to prop up individual Europeans with more financial resources than the people of the Choctaw and Chickasaw Nation.
And I was just gonna ask, why were they so specific to be identified in a treaty? But I think you answered it. Gonna prop these. They already got the license from the United States government, so they're already hand in hand. So yeah, I was like, why would they be so specific? Yeah, because these are gonna be the people they prop up within this community.
So you right here, it says it is here. Yep.
It is hereby agreed and stipulated that the commission provided for in the preceding article shall investigate said claims and fully examine the same and such sum or sums of money as shall by the report of said commission approved by the Secretary of the Interior be found due to such persons not exceeding $90,000 shall be paid by the United States to the persons entitled thereto out of the money belongings to said nation in the possession of the United States.
All right, stop right there. That's just straight
90,000.
In the last article, the president of the United States charged the Choctaw and Chickasaw $25,000. Now, the same 3-person commission that the president said, hey, when you go to those Americans, if you believe that they were east of the Mississippi and they came west, it's up to you how much you want to compensate them. Now you got 2 Europeans with trader license coming out of Massachusetts, and the president is saying they can get up to not exceeding $90,000. That's 3 times more than what both nations paid the United States. They paid $25,000 apiece per nation. They're saying you can give Joseph Hield and Reuben Wright, you can give them each $90,000 apiece. And here's the key: out of the money belonging to said nation. So, right. So they just spent 25 grand with the United States. Now they got to give these 2 individuals 90 up to 90,000.
Provided that no claim for goods or property of any kind shall be allowed or paid in whole or part, which shall have been used by the said nation or any member thereof in aid of the rebellion, with the consent of the said claims, provided also that if the agreed, what's that word?
Aggregate, just say total.
Aggregate.
The total.
Okay. In the aggregate of the said claims thus allowed and approved shall exceed said sum of $90,000, then that sum shall be applied pro rata in the payment of the claims so allowed.
So keeping that real simple, they're basically telling them, if you didn't participate in the rebellion, where it says right here, which shall have been used by said nation or any member thereof in aid of the rebellion. So if you assisted them peasants in the South, them white boys in the South, with fighting against the United States government, then you can't file a claim with them 3 commissioners.
At all.
Right. But with the consent of said claimants, provided also that if the total of said claims thus allowed and approved shall exceed the sum of $90,000, then the sum shall be applied pro rata in payment of the claim so allowed. So now they're saying you can go above 90,000. You just won't get it in one check or one lump sum. You'll have to do installments. You'll have to pay on that.
Okay.
So really, it's almost like it's kind of like the coronavirus in a way, where once the coronavirus came through, if you were savvy enough, you could have got grants. There was different resources available. You just had to say that you was affected by it and knew how to file for it. That's pretty much what Joseph and Reuben Wright are doing. they're getting added to the treaty so they can say, hey, during that rebellion, we lost a lot of land, we lost a lot of goods, so they can turn around and the United States government is saying, well, how much is that amount? Okay, we'll go over there to the Choctaw and Chickasaw Nation and they're gonna deal with paying you. You're keeping them indebted. I'll do 51. It is further agreed that all treaties and parts of treaties inconsistent herewith be, and the same are hereby declared null and void. So moving forward, if the treaty doesn't have the same language as this 1866 treaty, it's going to be null and void. In testimony whereof the said Dennis N. Cooley, Elijah Sales, and E.S. Parker, commissioners in behalf of the United States, and the said commissioners on behalf of the Choctaw and Chickasaw nations have hereunto set their hands and seals the day and year first above written. D.N. Cooley, Commissioner of Indian Affairs, Elijah Sales, Superintendent of Indian Affairs, E.S. Parker, Special Commissioner. Commissioners for the United States, Alfred Wade, Alan Wright, James Riley, John Page. Choctaw Commissioners, Winchester Colbert, Edmund, Holmes Colbert, Colbert Carter, Robert H. Love. Chickasaw Commissioners, Campbell LaFleur, E.S. Mitchell, Campbell LaFleur, Secretary of Choctaw Delegation, E.S. Mitchell, Secretary of Chickasaw Delegation, in presence of H.B. Latrobe, Principal Chief Choctaws. Douglas H. Cooper, J. Harlan, Charles E. Mix, produced by the Oklahoma State University Library. That's another key for anybody who's following this channel. They moved those 5 civilized tribes into what? Oklahoma. Those colleges out there also hold a lot of these treaties. That's another gem free of charge. Anything you want to share after now we've completed the 1866 Indian Treaty?
Again, back to this government pretending to allow the Chickasaw and Choctaw nations to have power, forever indebted, giving them money that they know they have to be in debt to, paying their counterparts in the United States, Europeans, way more. So now these people are going to sit as lords within these nations. Just watching the structure be able to establish itself. The Choctaw and Chickasaw nations, I know they're infiltrated now, but I know for a fact right now, they're looking around like, okay, there is no positive outcome for us because you can't even touch the money. Everything around you is being handled for you and being told to you. So this government, the way it established itself, it didn't want anything as far as currency be toyed with when it came to the Americans. So if you can't play with the money, you kind of have you're done for. Like, you're not done for. You're just a body, kind of getting things done. But that's what I'm gonna say on that.
Okay, let's see. Bear with me 1 second. All right, we're back in the building. Okay, so we finished up the 1866 Indian Treaty. So next week, I believe we'll be either doing the Homestead Act or the Dawes Act. It depends on which one comes chronologically first. But let's go ahead and let's close this meeting out. What do you want to say about the NFAC and Grandmaster Jay and just the overall silence among this group of people, with the only positive energy that came from the pandemic in 2020, looking back? It's so many people. What do you want to say? Let me stop right there.
No, I feel you. Reading these treaties, we saw the power be taken away from the actual citizen, or the actual by birth citizen. And we can, as we move forward, today we're in 1866, but in reality we're in 2022, quote unquote. just that power structure is still attacking the Americans in order for it to thrive. So we've seen from this treaty that you can't even control the money. So operations is all on the United States, and then the commissioners and whoever else is within that structure, as far as it goes to Chickasaw and Choctaw Nation, is being controlled by other Europeans. Grandmaster Jay being hammed up on some BS charges like it was this week show that we are up under military occupation. We just read how you had Americans be pushed and now a new structure be created for them in order for them to survive or live. And then today we're watching multiple leaders in the Black community be taken off the chessboard. So the United States government was able to do what they've done today, or what they were able to do in 1866 and prior, was because they had a strong defense. And if we ever as a group want to be the Americans again, and to be the Americans that actually run the land of North America, that strong defense comes first, seriously. And this group was weakened. These were warriors. They were weakened. And the best decision they made was to push west. That's because the United States government had a strong defense. And until we really get that, multiple people that stand up for us will go down, just like multiple members of the Black Panther Party that are still in jail today. Multiple members will suffer at the demise of trying to stand up for his people.
So what's your thought on people who, another thing that jumps out to me is how small the percentage is of the men and women that actually got a pair and stand for something. Like 80% of us are pussy, and 20%.
And that's a big number.
It's a big number, but when you look at what people say about what's happened to this individual, talking about Grandmaster Jay, this is in our generation, this is in our lifetime, this is in the prime of our lives. So we can no longer point the finger at our parents and say, oh, y'all didn't do this with the Black Panthers. And no, it's happening right now on our watch.
Right. I can understand, the fear part, because again, we live normal lives today. And again, this being a high frequency channel, it's not a lot of people on this type of understanding. And there's so much that goes into trying to do things right, and we haven't taken the steps to get that done.
Do you feel like it was a waste of time if you were to put yourself in Grandmaster Jay's shoes? Would you feel like it was a waste of time now that he's literally in a federal jail waiting to be sentenced to go to prison?
Not at all. Not at all. Because now we can kind of guesstimate how many people are still out there that stand up. So as we move forward, we got to keep those numbers in mind. Know what we do have, what we don't, and this sucks because it's unfortunate for Grandmaster. That man, he did everything right as far as getting the people together and being transparent with the counties or cities he was in. So we're in a tough pickle right now, man.
So do we just act like, when I'm talking about us as a group, because we're clearly acting like that didn't just happen.
Right.
And I believe a lot of people don't understand that you're so disorganized as a group of people. Meaning your Black caucus doesn't work for you. This man literally went online and just made a call for people to show up. And he was able to get more things moving forward on behalf of Breonna Taylor than any of your organizations that they put in your face in front of TV. And Niggas won't even give him that credit.
Sorry.
He did more than your NAACP, your Urban League, your Congressional Black Caucus, any preacher. None of them was able to try to get justice for Breonna Taylor. None of them. But we'll look at that guy and we'll, I don't know. What's your thoughts on it, man? Come straight up the middle with it.
Man, I already understand the circumstances we are up under. You know, read the definition of being a prisoner of war. So if you're a prisoner of war, all leaders are prisoners. If you're not in prison, then are you a leader? But it's on the group. This is gonna happen. People are gonna get, multiple of us are gonna become enlightened and understand and stand up. And it's gonna continue to fall because the group has to understand their history on this land. We do this, you know, to understand what's going on. And everybody across our board, anybody that look like me, similar to me, talk like me, walk like me, like the same music I like, dress like me, we have to do the due diligence and understand what's going on. Why are police killing me, but walking mass shooters politely to cars, and he gets to go home, or he gets to go to jail and see his family from home? Why is that happening? We have to understand what's going on, and we'll never get out of it. That's why I do my part in. I sit here and understand what's going on. Our group has to understand what's going on. If we understand what's going on, I know we'll probably stand up in more numbers. Cause now it's like, you got me fucked up. In the club, you got somebody fucked up if you step on their shoes. So I know our group gets fucked up. We just know ain't that many people behind us right now. But if we felt like, oh, we got somebody behind us, I think they should have turned around quick, man. Quick, fast, and in a hurry.
Good meeting today. Always learn something every class. So if you listen to this, if you're following this channel and you get a chance to listen to this, one thing we can guarantee you is you're gonna learn something every week.
Every week.
We're not guessing. We're pulling straight documents, and we're honoring our ancestors. So another good week.
Hold on. I'll take that down real quick. Gotcha.